The winning blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
Welcome back. You're in the lab room. Thank you for joining me on this absolutely gorgeous Wednesday afternoon. And it's Wednesday. And so you start to get right into the middle of the football week. Practices begin. You start to hear of guys not being able to play, not practicing this today. And so you start to hear things going on about the next week of the football season. You start to move on from the last week's action and start to move forward into the next week's action. And so with this NFL season being unique and the first to have Thursday games just about every week of the season, it's kind of hard to not fast forward your thinking right after the game is done of the previous week. So your week 2 contest happens on Sunday. By Tuesday, you need to be moving on because the next NFL week begins on Thursday. So you really only have a few days to kind of get your thoughts together about that game and then move forward and look to your next week's games. And I'm a big proponent of football pools, whether it's a survivor pool or just a regular pool where you pick winners. I'm a big fan of pools. And so haven't really gotten into the whole fantasy thing yet. Maybe that's going to be down the line for me. I'm not a big fantasy football fan, and maybe not yet. Maybe that's something that I'll explore later on down the line. But I'm a huge football pool. I love picking games. And today you're going to see the debut of 2 different segments in the lab room. The first being the sole survivor. And this is something that I feel like I have to do. Like I said, I love football pools. I love survivor pools. And so I'm going to give you the sole survivor of this week. The one pick that you can bank on and use in your survivor pool to move on to the next week. So we're going to call this segment the sole survivor. Looking at this slate of games, this is going to be a tough week. And what's so interesting in this 2012 season already is that picking survivor winners has become increasingly hard. Looking at this slate of games, it's hard to definitively look at this sheet and say that's a winner. And what makes it that much harder this season is the fact that you don't have your perennial juggernaut teams coming out and playing flawless football to start the season. The Patriots don't look like a lot from week to week. The Packers don't look like a lot from week to week. And so you look at these games and you're saying, I'm not sure who to select. In the past, there were 3 or 4 teams that if you hadn't used them yet, if there was a tough week, you could always lean on a Packers or Patriots or Saints and say, all right, who you got? And one of them would have a team of lesser talent, and you'd say, okay, I'm going to pick you this week. I'm going to use my Patriots this week. That's not the case this year because the Patriots are getting off to a slow start. They can't protect Brady right now. You're not sure what they're going to do from week to week. Same with the Packers. Their offense is not clicked on all cylinders yet, and they're having trouble protecting Aaron Rodgers. They're still trying to find their offensive identity, whether they're going to run the football with Cedric Benson or are they going to put the ball in Aaron Rodgers' hands and let him do what it is he's done so great for the last 3 seasons. Or you can't even count on the Saints anymore. They haven't won a game this season. If you pick the Saints against the Redskins in week 1, you're done. If you pick the Saints against the Panthers in week 2, you're done. And so you can't count on the Saints right now. They have to get a W and do it in convincing fashion and then do it several more times for you to begin to trust them again. And so the only team right now that looks to be a sure thing, and there is no sure thing in the NFL. But the closest thing to that right now is the San Francisco 49ers. And with that offense being as deliberate as it is, I can't bring myself to trust the San Francisco 49ers because they don't have a problem scoring 16 points. They have no problem scoring 16. The good thing about them is if they score 16, chances are their opponent only scored 10 and they still win the game. But you just never know when that game is going to happen, when they finally decide to turn the ball over 2 or 3 times and they only score 16 points and they lose the game 23-16. That's going to happen sooner or later. But right now, they're the best and closest to a sure thing. However, looking at this sheet, let's go over these games real quick. I just want you to mentally have a visual of how tough this slate of games is going to be to pick a survivor out of these games. Let's go over this. The first game, your Thursday night game, is going to be the New York Giants taking on the Carolina Panthers. So the Giants are on the road for the first time this season against the Carolina Panthers, who just had a very impressive victory over the New Orleans Saints. What do you do there? No definitive winner there. No one that you can just say, they are absolutely going to win this football game. You can make an argument for both teams in that game. You look at the next game and the start of the Sunday games. Tampa Bay at Dallas. Tampa Bay was impressive for 3 quarters against the Giants last week. They won their first game against the Panthers, who was impressive against the New Orleans Saints last week. So the Bucs have beaten the Carolina Panthers and convincingly done so. And then they had a W for 3 quarters against the Giants before imploding in the 4th quarter. And so the Cowboys, same thing for them. They looked very impressive in week 1 against the Giants on the road. Laid an egg on the road the second week against the Seattle Seahawks. And so what do you do there? The Cowboys in their home opener going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do you do? Hard to say. Jacksonville at Indianapolis, a divisional matchup. Anytime you have family business being conducted, which this is a family business affair, you don't touch those games. You stay as far away from family business as possible because the last place team in the division can reach up and snatch a first place team with no problem within a division. Family business always stays family business. So in other words, what happens in the family stays in the family. You leave that alone. So you move on. Buffalo at Cleveland. Cleveland looked solid last week against Cincinnati. Although they haven't won a game yet, they were in the game against the Eagles. Arguably, you could say they should have beaten the Philadelphia Eagles in week 1. They had a good showing, especially on the offensive side of the football in week 2, which gives you, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, which gives you reason for hope. And so if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you feel like you got a shot against this Buffalo Bills team who, yeah, they went out and absolutely destroyed the Kansas City Chiefs last week at home. But don't forget, in week 1, they had the doors blown off of them by the Jets. And so you got Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde Bills, and you got the Cleveland Browns who seem to be getting better as each week goes on, although it has not translated into a win. This could be their first win against these Bills. You don't know which Bills team is going to show up. The Dr. Jekyll that you saw in week 1 or Mr. Hyde that you saw in week 2. You don't know. So, again, you want to stay away from this game. You look at the next game. Kansas City Chiefs taking on the New Orleans Saints. Ding, 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 ding. This is where you want to stop. If you are looking for a sole survivor in your pool, you need not look any further than the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the New Orleans Saints. This is where you found your winner. The Chiefs are a team right now that are really in free fall. They don't know what's going on right now, and I don't think they really have a firm grasp of what the problem is. They haven't done anything egregiously terrible on the offensive end. Their defense is really looking like a team that can be taken advantage of, and they're a team trying to find themselves right now. They don't know if they're coming or they're going. Anytime your GM comes out and says, hey, there's no panic, guess what? There's panic. And so the Chiefs right now have all the offensive weapons you could ask for on that side of the football, yet they can't produce at the rate that they should. And the defense is nowhere near the defense that was ranked 6th in the league in stopping the pass in 2011 under Romeo Crennel. This is a totally different football team. And right now, they're just trying to find answers and ways to help them get close to winning a football game. They haven't been close in their first 2 games. I don't expect them to be close in this game either, because they're playing a New Orleans Saints that if there was a definition for desperate in terms of football, this would be the quintessential answer for that definition. This would be your picture of desperate. The New Orleans Saints right now need a win in the worst way. Week 3 at home in the Superdome, a place you didn't lose at all in 2011. You've already lost a game there against the Washington Redskins led by Robert Griffin III. You lost your second game of the season on the road to the Carolina Panthers. These are 2 teams that present matchup problems for the Saints. Dual threat quarterbacks that can do it all on the football field. The Saints defense was in no position to stop either one of these offenses. The Chiefs don't bring that to the table. And so the Saints, not only are they going to go out and execute on offense in the Superdome, get the crowd in the game, score a bunch of points, because this is a Kansas City Chiefs defense that in the first 2 games, respectively, have given up 40 and 35 points for a whopping total of 75 points in the first 2 games of the season. They're struggling on the defensive side of the football. And the Saints are going to try to take full advantage of the fact that the Chiefs can't stop teams from getting in the end zone. Drew Brees is going to carve this defense up. That defense is going to get a lead and start to get after Matt Castle, force him into mistakes. And again, this Chiefs team has a problem stopping teams from making big plays. They've given up plays in the return game. They've given up touchdowns on returns, on interceptions. They've given up fumble recoveries. They've done it all. They can't stop teams from scoring touchdowns. And the Saints are going to take full advantage at home in the Superdome. The crowd is going to be raucous. They need a win in the worst way, and they're going to get it against the Kansas City Chiefs. Looking for a win in your survival pool to get you to week 4? This is where you want to stop and take the New Orleans Saints over the Kansas City Chiefs. But I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to continue to go over the rest of the games just to give you an idea that you really don't have any other recourse or any other option to take another game in case you don't trust me. The next game is Cincinnati at Washington. Why would you want to go there? 2 1-1 teams who shown they can score the football on offense, but have shown that they can give up points on defense as well. Why would you want to touch that game? Why? St. Louis at Chicago. We've seen that Jeff Fisher has his team playing a much better brand of football, much tougher and borderline dirty. Nonetheless, with these replacement officials, you can get away with murder. And that's what St. Louis has been doing. And Chicago Bears right now are a football team having trouble protecting Jay Cutler. They don't know if they're going to be able to come out and execute or not. The St. Louis Rams are going to put pressure on Jay Cutler. How will they respond? You don't know. You can't trust the Chicago Bears. Is Matt Forte going to be able to play? Is his ankle going to be healed? You don't know. Another answer that you don't, another question you don't have the answer to. Leave that game alone. San Francisco at Minnesota. This is another one you could look at and say, hey, I could pick the 49ers here. San Fran on the road against Minnesota. You look at this game, and one of these times the 49ers are going to have a couple of blunders, a couple of mistakes, and it's going to cost them a football game. And it's probably going to be on the road. What better place to have it happen than in the Dome against the Minnesota Vikings? The 49ers have looked impressive on defense. And not just impressive, they've played against some really explosive offenses and limited them to next to nothing. And so you're thinking they're going to shut down this Minnesota Vikings offense. But Adrian Peterson still plays for the Minnesota Vikings. And anytime he sets foot on the field, he has a chance to explode. Now, I know this 49ers defense is pretty stout against the run, but you just never know when Adrian Peterson decides to break up a hole, stiff arm someone, and make it a foot race, which 9 times out of 10, he's going to win. You don't know when he's going to decide to go for 150 on someone and 2 touchdowns. You don't know when Frank Gore is going to decide to put the ball on the floor. Or you don't know when Alex Smith is going to have one batted in the air and intercepted and returned for a touchdown. You don't know when Ted Ginn is going to finally fumble and put one on the carpet and have it returned for it. You don't know when this is going to happen. When it does, it's going to be on the road. It's going to be in a hostile environment like the Dome in Minnesota. The Vikings have already won a football game, albeit against the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was at home. They have what seems to be a very good kicker in Blair Walsh. And so it could happen. And you don't want to waste your 49ers if you haven't done so already. You don't want to waste it this early in the season because you're going to need it. Trust me. You're going to need to rely on the 49ers at some point in this season in the survivor pool. Now, granted, if you don't make it that far, you'll never get to use them. And so I get that logic. Hey, I'm just trying to make it to the next week. If there was another game that you could look at and say, I could take this game, it'd be this one. But I'd stay away from this game because the home team always has a shot. Always. I don't care who's playing. When you go on the road, it's tough to win games on the road because the crowd is into it. The home team feeds off of that energy, and they played inspired football. It's hard to hear with the crowd noise, especially if the home team gets the lead or they're in the ball game and the crowd is into it and they start to get at a feverish pitch. It's hard for you to communicate with your offense, and it can lead to turnovers and miscommunication, and it's just hard to win on the road. Every road victory is sweet. You need to savor them, and so it's tough for me to go and pick the 49ers on the road against the Vikings. The last time they were there, they lost to Brett Favre on that miracle play to Greg Lewis in the back of the end zone, and so anything could happen. You can go with that game if you like. I would stay away from it if at all possible. Detroit at Tennessee. Again, Detroit 1-1, Tennessee 0-2. You look at this game, and on the outside looking in, it appears to be Detroit in a landslide, but I wouldn't do that. Tennessee is at home. Chris Johnson, they have to figure out a way to get him involved. This could be the day that it happens against the Detroit Lions. Jake Locker looked solid in his home opener. I thought he regressed last week in San Diego, but he's back at home where I think he can flourish. This Detroit Lions offense has not lit up any team yet, so they're due for one. But are they due for one yet this early? We don't know. They haven't done it to this point, so I'm not sure. They're getting a little healthier on the defensive side of football, but still, I don't like to pick teams on the road unless it's a no-brainer. It has to be one of the worst teams going up against one of the best teams in the league for me to just definitively say, hey, this team on the road is going to go and get this win, no doubt about it. You're not there with the Lions. You shouldn't be that confident in the Lions to go and pick them against the Tennessee Titans on the road. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Atlanta at San Diego. 2 2-0 teams. That should tell you all you need to know. Leave it alone. Philadelphia at Arizona. Again, 2 2-0 teams battling it out. Tough environment for the Eagles to go into and win. Why would you want to touch that game? Pittsburgh at Oakland. Here's another game. If you looked at the schedule, you could say, come on, really, the Raiders beating the Steelers? Give me a break. Again, though, the Steelers on the road, the Steelers have not looked impressive in either one of their games. They beat the Jets, and if you look at that score, 27-10, you think, oh, they dominated. Yeah, they dominated in the second half, but that was a close ball game all first half. And if the Jets execute better on the offensive side of the football, that's a totally different football game. But the Jets didn't. The Steelers took advantage, and they ended up winning going away. But I haven't been overly impressed with this Steelers team. And they're still learning the nuances of new offensive coordinator Todd Haley's offensive scheme. And so there's still a lot left for the Steelers to accomplish in that offense. They're still growing in that offense. And so you never know when they're going to have a breakdown. Is Troy Polamalu going to play? Is James Harrison going to play? They're banged up on the defensive side of the football. And so as easy as it would seem, because these Raiders stink, there's no two ways about it. They don't have a lot of talent. They got a new coaching staff. They have new schemes going on all around on both sides of the football that they have not mastered. They have a lot going on. They're going in the opposite direction. They're regressing as a football team, but you have to take 2 steps backwards or 1 step back to go 2 steps forward, and they're taking a huge step backwards right now, but they're looking to move forward. Who knows? Maybe they move forward in week 3 against the Steelers. Again, a team on the road trying to get a victory. Now, again, I'm not sure that the Steelers are an elite team right now. You can't say that. They're 1-1. They haven't dominated in either one of their games thus far. And the Raiders have proven that they're probably going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. And so you have one half of the equation, but the Steelers aren't an elite team for you to be able to say they're definitely going to go on the road and notch a victory. And so while you could take this game if you like, and you probably would be safe in doing so, I wouldn't take it over the Saints at home against a reeling Kansas City Chiefs ball club. And so you have 3 games right now of the 13 that we've went through. You have 3 games that you could honestly pick and feel good about him. However, 2 of those 3 feature teams on the road trying to get a victory. I don't trust that for 1 second. I would stick with the home team beating a team that's reeling, the Saints being the home team, going against a free-falling Kansas City Chiefs football team right now. As we move on, you look at the Houston Texans taking on the Denver Broncos. Texans are 2-0. Broncos are 1-1. Broncos are home. Texans are 2-0, but have not been dominant in their first 2 games. The scoreboard says they were dominant, but if you watch those games, these games got out of hand in separate fashions. In the first game, the Dolphins and the Texans were tied at 3 with 1 minute and 53 seconds left in the first half. And before halftime could commence, the score was 24-3. It got out of hand in 1 minute and 53 seconds in the first game, en route to a 30-10 victory. And you look at the second game against the Jaguars, that was a slow-moving game that gradually got out of hand. They didn't just go in and throttle the Jacksonville Jaguars immediately. And they accumulated points, and as the game wore on, they continued to put points on the board and eventually got to a 27-7 victory. Again, this isn't a game you want to try and be a hero and pick the Texans or the Broncos. These are maybe not 2 evenly matched teams. I think that the Texans are maybe a little bit better, but they're on the road, and so that evens it out in terms of a matchup. And so you don't want to touch this game. No need to. You go to the Sunday night matchup, you got the Patriots going on the road against the Baltimore Ravens. Do I need to say more? Monday night pits the Green Bay Packers on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. Again, Seattle is a dangerous team at home, as the Cowboys found out in week 2. The Packers are going on the road for the first time this season, have not shown well in either one of their 2 games to this point. Why would you want to touch this game with a 10-foot pole? No need to put yourself in a precarious situation, having to bite your fingernails through a edge of your seat thriller on Monday night when you could take the Saints in a rout over the Kansas City Chiefs. You could even take the San Francisco 49ers over the Vikings, or the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Raiders. But why would you take teams on the road trying to get victories when you got the Saints at home in your lap over the Kansas City Chiefs? To me, there's nothing to think about. It's a no-brainer. You take the New Orleans Saints at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. The New Orleans Saints are your sole survivor for week 3. of the 2012 NFL season. After this quick break, we'll come back and you will see the debut of the NFL's Most Wanted. Stay tuned. You're going to love it. Be back in a bit.
The winning blueprint presents.
Down out, down out. Down out, down, down out. Down out, down out. Down out, down, down out. Down out, down out. Down out, down, down out. Down out, down out. Down out, down, down out.
NFL's Most Wanted.
Howdy, partners. I am the man they call the sheriff. Here to enforce the rules of the NFL amongst its players, coaches, and all personnel involved with the NFL. Now, I only come to see those who are bad. Bad meaning bad, and bad meaning good. Now, you don't want to see me if you're bad, because you're just bad. Because guess what? That's going to be bad news for you. Now, let me lay down a few of the guidelines of this here sheriff. Now, first things first. I don't come after rookies unless your penalty is that egregious. Rookies are minors, and therefore the sheriff does not involve in business matters of minors. So there you have it. If you are a veteran player in the National Football League, you ought to know better. And so, with that being said, if you break the laws of the NFL, you're going to see me, the sheriff. First up on the blotter, and I want you to take a good look at this picture, at this photograph right here, and see if you can identify this young man. Some of you may know him as number 16 of the St. Louis Rams. I know him as Danny Amendola. Now, Danny Amendola is being formally charged with impersonating a Pro Bowl / All-Pro receiver in the National Football League. Now, that's pretty hard to do, seeing as if most average receivers in this league don't catch 13 balls in one half of football. But that's just what Mr. Amendola proceeded to do this weekend against the Washington Redskins. 13 grabs for over 100 yards in the first half. Now, if you do the math, 13 plus 13 is 26. The NFL record for receptions in a game is 21. Mr. Amendola was on pace to break the NFL single game reception record. That does not sound like something that Danny Amendola is supposed to be doing. Now, he absolutely destroyed the Redskins defense, whether it was zone coverage, man coverage, press, off, it didn't matter. Mr. Amendola was open. And he was catching the football, making plays, and disrupting the Redskins on the defensive side of the football. Now, for a man who has never caught double figures in passes a day in his career, nor has ever went over 100 yards in a single game in his career, these are some pretty huge numbers for one half of football. Don't you think? Mr. Amendola? Well, if you see Mr. Amendola, who is wanted right now in St. Louis for his crime of impersonating a Pro Bowl / All-Pro wide receiver, please call the sheriff at 1-800-NO-ALL-PRO. That's 1-800-NO-ALL-PRO. Let's bring Mr. Amendola to justice. All right. Moving right along. Now, next up on the blotter is one of my favorite targets. That's right. This guy is a repeat offender. Someone I have to routinely corral, round up, and reprimand. And honestly, I'm getting sick and tired of being sick and tired of rounding up this guy. If you know him, point him out. That's right, one Kevin Call, or as I like to call him, corn on the cob. However, this guy here, Mr. Kolb, this time around is being brought up on charges formerly of treason. That's right, he is a traitor. Not in the literal sense, because he doesn't mean to be a traitor. He doesn't mean to keep Larry Fitzgerald from catching lots and lots of footballs like he's used to doing. But that's what he's doing. And I can't stand for it. I won't stand for it. And the league won't stand for it. So, Mr. Kolb is a fugitive of justice right now. He needs to be brought to justice for his injustice of not getting Larry Fitzgerald the football. One catch for 4 yards against the New England Patriots last week isn't going to cut it. Goddamn, boy. Look at me, son, when I'm talking to you. Look at me. Look at me. You throw the football to Larry Fitzgerald every opportunity that you get. I'm getting sick and tired of you not getting the football to Larry Fitzgerald. That's inexcusable for Larry Fitzgerald to have one catch for 4 yards in any given game. You should be ashamed of yourself. Luckily, you won the football game. Not going to win many, not getting the football, Larry Fitzgerald. Now, are we? Now, what you need to do is what I like to call the law of Larry Fitzgerald, which means if he's single covered, I don't know if you know what that means, Mr. Kolb, but I'll tell you. That means if he has one player covering him on any given play, you throw the ball up to Larry Fitzgerald. If Larry has 2 defenders on him, you throw the ball up to Larry Fitzgerald. Look, Kevin, listen, you get the ball to Larry Fitzgerald. It's the Patriots' job to stop Larry Fitzgerald. But it's not your job to stop Larry Fitzgerald. And so, you are being charged with treason, my friend. So, if you see this man, call 1-800-FIND-LARRY. That's 1-800-FIND-LARRY. Mr. Kolb, don't let me have to have this discussion with you again, or else you'll find yourself on the bench. Do I make myself clear? I hope I did. Now, he's wanted in New England for his actions. Let's hope you're not wanted in Arizona, because if you are, son, you're going to find a bench for good. Well, nothing in my line of work makes me happier than something that I like to call a little retroactive justice. See, in simpler terms, it means solving a cold case and seeing a team get what they deserve. Teams and players and coaches always think they've gotten away with something until the long arm of the law reaches out and touches them. And that's exactly what happened to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week. Take a look at them. That's right. Tampa Bay Bucks. But not just any old Tampa Bay Bucks. The 2011 Tampa Bay Buccaneers were charged with 53 counts of treason and sabotage last year. That's right. 53 counts of sabotage and treason. Never in all of my years, and I've been doing this a pretty long time, never in all of my years have I seen a team quit like these Bucks here from 2011. They absolutely quit on Raheem Morris, got him canned, and thought that there was going to be no penalty for their actions. Well, they were wrong. They may have gotten away with it for a period of time, but always remember, the long arm of the law always catches up with you in the end. And that's what happened to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 2 of the 2012 season as they blew a lead that they had over the New York Giants, surrendering 21 points in the fourth quarter to those Giants, 3 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. So I guess that makes it 22 if my calculations are correct. To the New York Football Giants, losing the game that they had well in hand for 3 quarters. They thought they got away with costing a man his job, giving up, and not playing football the way they supposed to be, getting a man fired. They thought they got away with it. Well, no, you did not get away with it, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You did not get away with it. You had to pay, and you paid yesterday with a loss. That serves you right. There's no quitting in football. You quit on Raheem Morris last year, and the football guys made you quit in the fourth quarter last weekend against the New York Giants. So there you have it. 53 counts of treason, 53 counts of sabotage served. Love retroactive justice. There's nothing like it. Moving right along, the next case on the blotter this week are these guys. That's right, the replacement officials. A poor excuse for an officiating crew in the National Football League. I won't stand for it. And the powers that be won't either. And that's why I'm here talking to you about these guys. Look at them. They look like they don't know what the hell's going on in the damn picture. If you see these guys, please report them immediately. Now, these replacement officials are being brought up on charges as we speak of reckless endangerment. There are over 1,800 players in the National Football League, and every single one of them are in danger because of these guys right here. Now, in all of my years of watching football, I have never seen games so out of control like they were this past weekend. The inmates were running the asylum. You know why? Because of these guys right here. These officials couldn't restore order in the football game. Didn't know what to do. Didn't have the respect of the players. It was like having a substitute teacher. They were running all over them, doing whatever they felt like doing, when they wanted to do it, how they wanted to do it. These officials need to grow some balls. Throw some guys out if you need to. Throw those 15-yard personal foul penalties if you need to. Use your authority. In the great words of Carmen from South Park, you will respect my authority. That's what they need to tell these players on the field. But of course, they don't have the gumption to use their authority and put fear in these players' hearts. This is ridiculous. This is absurd. This cannot continue to go on. And so they're being charged with reckless endangerment. And if found guilty, these referees will be banned from officiating future NFL football games forever. And right now, the way I'm feeling, I'm like, good riddance. Get them out of here as soon as you can. First train out of town. Get them out of here. Get these real officials back in here and restore the order to the game that needs to be restored. Bring the integrity back to the football game. Because what I saw on the field on Sunday was a bunch of caged animals who were let out. And there was nobody there to keep the peace. And so they just ran around the field like a bunch of crazies. So, if you see these guys, call 1-800-REAL-REFS. That's 1-800-REAL-REFS. We got to get this thing resolved quickly, people. Reckless endangerment is not a game. People can get hurt out there. We need to make this thing go away as fast as possible. 1-800-REAL-REFS. Speaking of which, the man with all the power, and I hate to do this because I have such respect and admiration for this next man up on the blotter, but this thing's gone on way too long. It's gone on too far, too long, and now he has to be accountable for his actions. And of course, I'm referring to Mr. One, Roger Goodell. That's right. Roger Goodell is wanted right now for, and I hate to do this, I really do. I can't tell you enough how much this makes me sick to my stomach. But it has to be done. Right now, Roger Goodell is wanted for reckless league slaughter. That's right, reckless league slaughter. You are killing the league right now, Roger. Okay? You are absolutely, slowly but surely killing this league. This is the best sport in all the land, Roger. You got the world of football in the palm of your hand. And what do you do with it? You hand that power, that responsibility over to a bunch gutless, spineless, unqualified replacement officials. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, Roger. That's right, I'm not even calling you Commissioner Roger Goodell right now, because you don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. This league deserves better than the product that you're putting on the field right now. Hell, I got a bedtime. I can't be up until 1 o'clock in the morning because these goddamn replacement officials can't get calls right on the field, taking 15 minutes to figure out if the ball's supposed to be spotted at the 37 or the 42. This is going on too long, Roger. And you're accountable for it. You're the man in charge. You can make this thing go away. but you choose to be stubborn, want it your way. Hell, I know there has to be some compromise that can happen that can get these real officials back in the ball game. You talk about the integrity of the game. I can't tell that you want to keep the integrity in the game, because you putting these replacement officials on the field tells me you don't give a damn about integrity of the football game. You just want to win. You want your ego to shine through, be bigger than everybody else's. You want to say, I won. Well, guess what? Right now, you're losing. We're losing. Everybody's losing, because the product on the field is not the same product that we've come to know and love. And it's about time for you to put a stop to this. It's gone on way too long, Roger. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. The fans are sick of it. The coaches are sick of it. The players, hell, I don't know. Players might like it. They're out there doing whatever the hell they want to do. So I don't know. Maybe the players are enjoying themselves right now. But I tell you what, these players are in trouble. Because people are going to get hurt out there if you don't do something, Roger. You are being charged with reckless league slaughter. Do you not understand the ramifications of your actions right now? You need to do something before somebody gets hurt on your watch, and then it's too late. Then it'll be way too late for you to try to come back and make it all right. Because at that point, nobody wants to hear what you have to say about the situation, Roger, because you had every opportunity to put a stop to this. So I'm going to tell you this. Just like I've told every other suspect that I've had to reprimand over the years. You can't run, Roger. Buddy. No, sir. You can't run. They all try. You can't run. You can't hide. Because the long arm of the law, it's going to get you. It's going to get you. And if you don't clean up your act here soon, buddy, yeah, talking to you, Roger, talking to you. You don't clean up your act here soon, somebody's going to be in big, big trouble. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be the sheriff. I can guarantee you that. Not going to be me. Somebody's going to be in some big, big trouble. Somebody's going to have a big mess to clean up. And I don't think you're going to have more than enough paper towels which to do so. So, if anybody, and I mean anybody, spots Mr. Goodell walking around with his head held high talking about these replacement officials are doing an adequate job, I want you to call 1-800-DENIAL. That's 1-800-DENIAL. That's right, son. You're in denial. If you think that these officials are doing an adequate job, you are in denial. If you think that the league is operating at maximum efficiency, you are in denial. Doesn't take but a 2-year-old to see that this thing is going downhill fast. Now, your ratings might be still doing great, but people know when they see garbage. And this here, what we got over the last 2 weekends, maybe not so much in the first week as much so the second week, that's garbage. Okay? Want you to know that. Now that's going to do it for the week 2 edition of In the Lab Room's NFL's Most Wanted. Now, I don't know what you've been told, but like I've said time and time again, and I continue to say it until I can't do it anymore, I don't make the laws, I just enforce them. You can't run, you can't hide, you can't get away from the long arm of the law. That's going to do it for me. I'm the sheriff. You guys take care. Till next week. And remember, whether you're bad being bad or bad being good, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you. Take care, folks.
NFL's Most Wanted.